Well, it was the Jimmy V Women's Basketball Classic, Ryan, presented by Corona. And ouch. So I had to say about that one. Ouch. No matter what anybody says, Ryan, this is one loss. All right. So let's take a step back and I'll be nice and quick so you can go. Um, what I take away from this is this UConn Huskies women's basketball team can lose. Okay. Now, people are like, well, yeah, any team can lose, Phil. What are you talking about? Ryan, my point is to you that no matter how much you hate me, Ryan, for saying this and everybody else, I knew sooner or later it would catch up. All right. Now, understand this is only one loss. I get it, one game. But, Ryan, you have to understand my point here. Are we looking at a bigger issue than just one loss?
Yeah, well, in the first quarter of this game, both teams, it was about elite point guard play right off the top. And Nika Mule, Olivia Miles, also aggression on defense. Notre Dame doing everything in their power to stop AZ Fudd from shooting and even getting the ball. And I love to see Nika Mule shoot. She made 2 threes right out of the gate. And there was finally a whistle with 2:30 left. Notre Dame came out. Olivia Miles just continued to dominate that whole first quarter. It was all about Olivia Miles and just the whole Notre Dame team. But a really scary moment for UConn. AZ Fudd appeared to have a knee injury. She came back out into the quarter and went back to the locker room. She got hurt. It was kind of a weird play. Aaliyah Edwards got knocked down and landed on AZ's knee. But in the second quarter, Notre Dame defensive pressure continued. UConn was traveling, throwing up air balls, couldn't get any shots to fall. Every shot was contested that the UConn took. And Notre Dame just looked like a really, really dominant team today. But Olivia Miles, the Notre Dame offense just kept rolling, and there was really nothing UConn could do to stop them, to be honest. And AZ came back out into the game about 4 minutes into the second quarter. It was definitely a good sign, but she didn't return at all in the second half. So let's just hope and pray that she's okay and she's able to play for the next game, I believe, which is on Thursday against Princeton. But we'll just have to wait and see for, unfortunately, some more injury news about the UConn Huskies team. But of course, AZ was held scoreless the whole entire game. And it was really just a Notre Dame onslaught. They were shooting the lights out. Like I said, made everything tough for UConn. Albert Griffin left open 7 times in the first half, and she missed every single shot. Caroline 0 for 3. It was just a really bad first half from UConn. Couldn't do anything right, and it was the opposite on the Notre Dame side. They couldn't really do anything wrong, and they were up 41-24 at the half. But then they came out of the locker room, both teams, in the third quarter. UConn made some adjustments, and whatever Gino told them worked, because UConn came out on a 14-3 run. They actually cut it to 5 points, the deficit to 5 points at one point in the game. But Lou Lopez started hitting, the offense started going, but no AZ Fudd. And really, with no AZ Fudd, it just seemed like UConn, it was kind of just all Lopez Senechal from the offensive perspective. And despite UConn cutting it to 5, there was just really nothing UConn could have done in this game to beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame was just the better team today. They proved that. Just Holm had all the momentum, just had everything going for them. Really sloppy game, I'd say, from UConn on both sides of the ball. Just not the regular UConn team we're used to seeing. But yeah, let's just hope that AZ Fudd is okay. And UConn, definitely not their best game today.
We both said it before we started this episode that, hey, I mean, it's curious to see how many people come through as far as commenting our subs because, hey, not laughing, not smiling. This is a serious matter here. We're dealing with a loss. I get it. When my teams lose, yes, I'm mad. All right. But when you factor in everything, this is a team that hardly loses ever. Okay. And I can't wait to get into the comments today because, boy, are you going to have fun with this. It's interesting because, again, tell me if I'm wrong, Ryan. A lot of people, since I guess it's safe to say since the beginning of the season, were not leaning towards Phil's side, on this podcast. They were not leaning towards Phil's side, my side. In other words. So, and what I mean by that is, no AZ Fudd. And of course, I didn't even know AZ Fudd was going to star this big on the big stage, but let alone, man, you have to factor in this is not, and I heard the announcer say it at the end of the game, this is AZ Fudd, not only one of the top players on this team, but one of the leading scorers in the whole country. Ryan, the United States of America, Ryan Renner.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I don't really think UConn didn't lose this game because AZ Fudd got hurt and she didn't play the second half. But I will say that the UConn offense, just in general, for the whole game, just looked kind of stagnant. And like I said, it really just seemed like it was all of Lopez Senechal, and it just nobody could really get it going. Aubrey made a shot and Nika made a couple, but it was just they couldn't really get anything to fall, and it was really credit to Notre Dame's defense. I mean, I give all the credit to this Notre Dame team. They took a tough loss to Maryland, and they came back and bounced back. I knew they would play frustrated and mad and upset. I knew this was going to be a tough game, and I didn't expect it to be a blowout like this. I don't think a lot of people did, especially not over on this side. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a wake-up call. And I think for UConn, it was obviously a quick turnaround. I was worried. I don't think they were fatigued or tired, but they just got beat by a better team today. So, I think obviously they're going to learn a lot from this loss, and Gino and the players and the coaches going to watch this film very closely and learn a lot of things from it. And hopefully they can take that into, further into the season in the March Madness. And they're certainly going to learn a lot from this.
And again, we're talking about the UConn Huskies women's basketball team. They drop it to Notre Dame Fighting Irish 74-60 today. Jimmy V women's basketball classic presented by Corona. Ryan Huskies 6-1, Fighting Irish improved to 7-1 on the season. I would say the season is still young, so it's definitely not time to press the panic button in no way, shape, or form. But you're right. Definitely a wake-up call, right, for this team. And again, you look at the box score, AZ Fudd, man, she had 0 points today, man. And I know that you told me about that injury. I was able to watch the second half. And when I sat down and watched the third and fourth quarters, Ryan, I thought for a minute that I was going to come on with you and say, man, Ryan, this is a team of fight, of fight, and they never go away, meaning the Huskies. I thought that we were going to talk about a second half comeback again.
Yeah, that's the way it looked.
And it's not, what they say, Ryan, it's not about how you start, but how you finish. But again, you told me, you said it very well, but again, is this something that will turn into a bowling ball, just down the road? Because again, you have to think down the road, man, these Huskies, they're going to come out. Maybe, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but slow in the first half. I get it, man. There's a lot. I mean, a lot. I say a lot. There's one star player that I'm thinking about here. There are some injuries on this ball team, but again, just so you can come out after halftime and finish the fight, but are you looking at this like, well, now all of a sudden this is not a second half ball team? I know you want to think before you go. I know you want to think that this is a well-rounded team that can play 4 quarters, but sometimes reality sets in. It's just not like that. But the good news is maybe they can be that third and fourth quarter team, but they didn't show that today.
No, they didn't, and that's been the problem for UConn, I think, because they came out a little slow against Iowa. They came out obviously slow today. And they did fight in the third quarter, but, like I said, they cut it down to 5, but the third quarter ended with Notre Dame up 12. So it was just Notre Dame continuing to just stick to the game plan. They made everything tough for UConn, didn't let them get any easy shots except for Aubrey Griffin. But unfortunately, Aubrey couldn't find the bottom of the net today. And that was just kind of the story for the whole UConn offense. But they came out in the third quarter and they fought, but in the fourth quarter, again, it was just all Notre Dame. They were just the more physical team today. And really UConn couldn't really force that many turnovers on defense and get out in transition like we're used to seeing. And UConn just really couldn't showcase their speed today and prove they're the faster team, like we usually see them get out in transition and get easy shots. And that's something that the Notre Dame coach stressed to her team, is that, you can't turn the ball over and let UConn get easy shots. And Notre Dame, just they perfected their game plan and stuck to it, and it worked today versus UConn. And, it's just UConn couldn't get anything rolling, and Notre Dame just stuck to it and really just dominated the Huskies today.
Shout out to Lopez Senechal as she poured in 21 points, Ryan. Another great performance from her. And then just hats off to Notre Dame. They came to play. I saw your girl, Enrique Gumbawale in the building. And it's something about legends returning to their old schools, man. When you put legends in with a good team, it seems like that, man, you just cannot beat them teams.
No, and the Notre Dame football coach was there too. So Notre Dame showed out for
big day for Notre Dame
stars that were in the crowd today.
And then shout out to Olivia Miles. She led the way. An amazing performance from Olivia Miles at Notre Dame. 21 points from Miles. Ryan, as you look down the board, and a lot of big star players for the Fighting Irish. Again, 74-60, your final. Ryan, some UConn Huskies fans left some comments for you in the mailbag, and we will start with the first one. AJ Hill goes 80-79 UConn. Maryland had two players basically get it. Now, understand, I'm checking the predictions here, Ryan, and I said 80-79. So he is speaking about my prediction here. 80-79 UConn, and he puts a laughing emoji. Maryland had two players basically get this win for them, and we know that UConn has many more offensive weapons. I know Page still isn't back, but a 1-point win is just crazy. I suspect the Huskies will win by 14 points.
Well, it was the other way around today, unfortunately.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
But I mean, and obviously UConn lost one of their offensive weapons, and really it looked like they only had one. And obviously we've been talking about that, and that's been a point of debate on this channel about Azzi Fudd, and she doesn't do all the scoring, and UConn is such a well-rounded team. But I just think, talking about Olivia Miles, Maddie Westbeld, and Ebo as well, they all played incredible today. And Ebo down in the paint, she played really, really solid defense, set a lot of screens for Notre Dame. And Notre Dame really shut down Aaliyah Edwards. They shut down Nika Mule. And Lou Lopez found their shot, but it's just really they couldn't get anything going on offense. And when you lose an offensive weapon like Azzi Fudd, and when she's not even on the court, she obviously can't score. So even though we know UConn can win without Azzi scoring a lot of points, they definitely need her at least on the court and shooting shots and at least scoring a couple points to help some of the offensive production. But unfortunately, with that injury, she was unable to play. So it turned out being quite the opposite today in terms of the scoring predictions for UConn and Notre Dame.
A lot of good ones for you, Ryan. Thomas Rella goes, I also think we got too many weapons on both ends to wear the Fighting Irish down. My pick for game MVP is Aaliyah Edwards. Points in the paint and rebounds vital. Go Huskies.
Yeah, it was definitely vital, and it was something that also UConn didn't do a lot, was get it into the paint. And like I said, that's much due to Notre Dame's defense. And that was obviously something that the coach and the players talked about a lot, is not allowing UConn to pass it into the paint to Leah Edwards and kind of let her just find her shot and get going, because they didn't let that happen. So, and Gino kept talking about it. Holly Rowe was reported on the sideline about UConn needs to get it into the paint, and Notre Dame just wouldn't allow it. So Notre Dame just really did an incredible job just shutting down pretty much everything that the UConn tried to do on offense today.
Let's go over to Stevie Kinsey. Time for a couple more, Ryan. I'm concerned for UConn because of everybody's high shooting efficiency against Providence. I don't think that the ball is going to drop for them nearly as much against Notre Dame. Since Notre Dame is coming off a tough loss, they would be taking out their anger on UConn. I think it's going to be a dog fight from the start. to end like in the Iowa game. Still taking the Huskies for the W, though, 75-70.
Well, they certainly predicted that pretty spot on, and UConn should have saved a couple points for this game today. And that was kind of my worry too about, just UConn coming out looking so good against Providence, and they just couldn't really miss. And today it was just the opposite. They couldn't really get any shots to fall. And I think Notre Dame as well, they won the rebound battle, maybe not in the stat sheet. I haven't had a chance to look at the stats and see who really won. But in my opinion, from just watching the game, I feel like just Notre Dame was the all-around aggressive team, getting the rebounds, and they were actually able to get out in transition sometimes and get behind the UConn defense and get easy shots. And they were just aggressive driving the ball on UConn as well. So yeah, I mean, UConn just they couldn't get any shots to fall. And, it was quite the opposite against Providence. But obviously, Notre Dame has a way better defense than what Providence does. And they definitely proved that today.
How about a BK? I feel like this would be a tough, I guess they meant game, but only because every team gives us their best effort. Iowa played out of their minds and just lost to North Carolina State. Every player outside Clark had a very poor game. I expect Notre Dame to come out hard, especially after losing at home. We have the better team, and I hope we don't trail UConn by 10. And that's sometimes what it comes down to, Ryan, is you witness. I mean, you want to always hope that your team wins, right? But you witness these games, these close ball games, and you're like, man, you're thinking in the back of your mind, you don't want to be negative, but I've witnessed, with these UConn Huskies, we both witnessed it along with these thousands of other people that you just had to imagine, again, not to be negative, but you had to imagine the gas was going to go on empty pretty soon.
And I think that's, it's something interesting they mentioned there about the mentality that teams come to play with when they play the UConn Huskies. It just seems like it's such a different mentality because UConn obviously being on top for so long, and just everybody just has this mindset of whether they're going on the road or they're home playing the Huskies, just having the mindset to just come out and just dominate the game, and knowing that the game script is there and executing it. But most teams can't really execute and do what they want to do versus the UConn Huskies, and Notre Dame pretty much today did what they wanted to do. So that was a difference today. And then being home in South Bend definitely helped, because when they went on those runs, the crowd was really electric. And that's something that UConn relies on too, with all their hometown fans in Gamble Pavilion. But Notre Dame had the home field advantage today, and the crowd definitely helped in terms of the momentum.
I'm curious. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this one. You're doing an incredible job. Always love to read you these comments. This player, Ryan, let me just tell you some of the stats to back this one up. 14 minutes, 2 points, 3 rebounds. Just keep that in mind very quickly. And I'll go ahead and tell you what Dan Wayman said. Seems you two always forget about Caroline Ducharme. The coach has not. Again, Ryan, let me just tell you before you continue. 14 minutes, 2 points.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for Caroline because she was really starting to find her stride, and had a couple good back-to-back games there. And
yeah. I'm not saying that she can be a major factor, but continue. Yes.
Yeah, and she obviously with the injury, and she started out slow, and obviously having those two really good back-to-back games. But that was just kind of the story, I think, for everybody on UConn today. Just couldn't get it going. And yeah, Caroline, I don't really think she played a whole lot in the second half either. Obviously only getting 14 minutes, so I guess she didn't. But yeah, I mean, that was just kind of the whole story for UConn. And just I know Caroline didn't make a shot either in the first half. So when you lose an offensive weapon like AZ Fudd and Caroline Ducharme, obviously we saw it a ton last season. She's a very powerful offensive weapon as well. And when she can't get any shots to fall, there is really not that many players left that really have the offensive firepower that Caroline and AZ have.
And, before we wrap it up right there, we've ran out of time, Ryan. I'm just sitting back, scratching my head, wondering, man, what would this ball game would have been like without Lou Lopez Senechal? because that was one of our more amazing episodes. I had fun sitting down with you that day and discussing the big welcoming of a star player, somebody that hardly anyone has ever heard of outside of UConn, but Gino, man, he knows how to work his magic. And I'm just sitting back. I know I had to tell you this. I'm like, man, I have to tell Ryan, what would the ball game would have looked like without Lou Lopez, man? Lou
And that's
Lopez Senechal, excuse me.
and that's something that Gino said as well. The offense has gotten so much better with Lou Lopez Senechal in it. So it definitely is a question because I mean Lou was really the only offense that UConn could rely on today,
Yeah.
especially in the second half. So if they didn't have her today, it would have definitely been a challenge to score any points at all, especially in the second half. So UConn's definitely very grateful to have Lou in the lineup, and she's going to be huge for them, especially if AZ Fudd misses a couple of games. But let's hope that's not the case.
All right, Ryan, we will be back. I will see your face for the actually the last check-in already, huh? Because it's coming around pretty quickly. The next matchup we have is a Thursday, December the 8th at 7:00, Princeton and Connecticut. Ryan, a lot of question marks that I really kind of did not want to face with you on this podcast. But hey, that's why we're here to break it all down. Ryan, your number one source for UConn women's basketball talk. It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up.